Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Everything Business. If it is your first time, please subscribe, like, and share. If you are always coming, thank you for visiting, and I hope that today's lesson will be productive for you. Alright, so today I'll be looking at Petty Cash Book. This is actually part one of a two-part series. In this video, I'll be introducing you to the Petty Cash Book and also some very important concepts and terms that you need to know in order to be successful in doing the Petty Cash Book. Alright, so let's get right into it. Now, what is a Petty Cash Book? So, a Petty Cash Book is a book of original entry that is used to record petty transactions. Now, you see, all businesses incur small amounts of expenditure. And if they should record all those expenditure in the regular cash book, then it would be too large. Hence, the petty cash book is used to record small expenditures such as purchasing of postage stamps, buying of envelopes, or buying cleaning materials, and so on. Alright? But before we can even enter into the petty cash book, enter information into the petty cash book, we need to fill out what is called a petty cash voucher. Now, a petty cash voucher is really like a claim form for the petty cash book. It is really the source document for the petty cash book, right? So if when petty cash is spent, and most time it is accompanied by a receipt, right? The petty cash voucher will then be filled out and given to the petty cashier, right? In order for the petty cashier to write up the petty cash book and reimburse the person who spent the petty cash, right? Now, this is an example of a petty cash voucher, right? And it is courtesy of Principles of Accounts for the Caribbean by 6th edition by Frank Wood and Sheila Robinson. Alright, so please take a look at the petty cash voucher. There are times in the exam where they ask you to make up the petty cash book from the petty cash voucher. So this is the information that you will have to work with. Alright, sometimes in the exam. Alright, now the petty cash book operates on a system that is known as the Imprest System. Now, what is this Imprest System? It is really simple, right? So in an organization, you may have a senior cashier or you may have a junior cashier, which is also called the petty cashier. In different organizations, they may use different terms or different titles. Some organization may say senior accountant and junior accountant, right? It's the same thing really. Now, the Imprest System is where the senior cashier or the senior accountant gives the petty cashier a sum of money from which to make petty payments, and this sum of money that is given to the petty cashier is called a float. Alright, remember that, float, just like when you're floating in the sea. Yeah, good. Alright, now at the end of the period, the petty cashier would have made payments from the float. Yes, right? Now the Imprest System states that whatever money is spent during the period by the petty cashier should be reimbursed or given back to the petty cashier in order to maintain the float. So say for example, word speaking, I gave the petty cashier, I am the senior accountant, I gave the petty cashier $1,000 from which to make petty payments. At the end of the period, the petty cashier has $200 left in the petty cash account. Then it would have meant that they would have spent $800, right? And that would mean that under the Imprest System, that I, the senior cashier, would need to reimburse the petty cashier with the amount of money spent, which was $800. Alright, so let's move on from that. That is the Imprest System. Alright, now let's look at an example of a petty cash book. Now, this is, an example of a petty cash book. You don't have to worry, right? In an exam, they won't ask you to draw this up, right? This will be, done already for you on a form. Now, the petty cash book is similar in principle to the cash book, a regular cash book, right? Meaning it has a debit side, yeah, right? It has a debit side. These two columns would represent the debit side, and it has a credit side. All right. Now let's look at what each column mean. So the receipts column, is for cash received, usually from the senior cashier. Then we have a folio column, and we are familiar with the folio column, right? It shows cross-referencing. Then we have the date, obviously show the date of the transaction. The details column would show the nature of the transaction. The voucher number column would be the petty cash voucher, the number that is on the petty cash voucher, right? The totals column shows the total amount for the transaction. And then we have the expenses or the analysis columns, right? And I must pause here to explain that the expenses columns or the analysis columns, as they are called sometimes, may vary depending on the question that you are doing. All right, so there may be different expenses that you will have to drop the columns for, or label the columns for. All right, so it's not just these 4 expenses or analysis columns that you are seeing here. It can vary depending on the question that you are doing. All right, then we have the ledger column, which is to show cross-referencing for ledger accounts, and then we have the ledger account column, which is to show small amounts paid to creditors. All right, and so that's basically how the petty cash book will look. All right, so let's review. So the petty cash book is a book of original entry used to record small or petty expenditure, right? Before recording the petty cash book, a petty cash voucher must be filled out. The petty cash book operates using what is called the Imprest System, and the Imprest System states that the petty cashier be given a sum of money from which to make petty payments. Now, this sum of money is called a float. Yes, just like a boat floating on the ocean. Good, right? Now, whatever money is spent by the petty cashier during a period must be given back to the petty cashier to maintain the float. That's the Imprest System. All right, so this is part 1, introduction and concepts of petty cash book, right? And join me in part 2, right, where I will do a practical example, a past paper question. All right, thank you. Well, good.